Welcome back to GBGuns. We are out today with the Sig Sauer P320 M17. This is an option that they offer that you can build yourself?
It's a kit. So if you've already got a 320 like we did, you can get the completed slide, barrel, recoil assembly, grip module, and 3 magazines shipped to your door, and then you just move your FCU over. So we moved over the FCU from our X Compact. That's why we have a flat blade trigger, but otherwise, and no manual safety, otherwise this is an M17, the new handgun for the US Army.
These are cold shots. I haven't touched it until we got to the range today. I have 10 rounds. 10 rounds and 25 yards.
25 yards is our reduced size torso. Zoom back so the folks can see. I picked this up because both Ms. T and I are US Army veterans. We used the M9 when we were in, which now makes us sound old, but I thought it would be interesting to see what the Army's new deal is, and we'll run this through our standard battery of tests. I was not a big fan of the M9 while I was in the Army. It took Ernest Langdon and LTT to make me feel better.
That recoil's getting me a bit. And I forgot how standing differently changes the way that your body feels that recoil. I was doing more of an isosceles stance compared to that Weaver stance that we've been taught so much in all of our training, defensive and otherwise. So I was trying something a little bit different today, and I've been trained that way before at center T, and forgot that it changes the way that you feel that recoil. So that had a little bit to do with my missing. Has nothing to do with the review, but thought I would note it. It's going to be a fun review. It's definitely got a little bit more recoil than what I prefer, but let's get on with it and see what Graham thinks.
What were your thoughts coming out? I mean, I know we haven't shot an M9 in ages, but if that was your military issue sidearm,
this definitely is more pleasant to shoot than any military sidearm that I had the opportunity to shoot or qualify with. It could be because I've had more real training, if you will, since then. The Army doesn't afford us a lot of that unless it's your designated sidearm, and then even so, it's only once or twice a year. So I've had much more experience with firearms since in the last few years than I ever did then. So my opinion might be skewed a little bit, and also my memory. I mean, that was some time ago. So if I was to have to choose a sidearm, I would prefer this over anything the military would issue me.
All right, so my 10 shots, I've got the 21 round mags. The kit came with one flush fit 17 rounder and 2 21 rounders with the extendo. Not that I need it though, there is plenty of grip on the M17. And we're reviewing this as its own gun because although the trigger module, the fire control unit, is one we've shot before, we haven't shot it configured like this length of barrel, this recoil system, this slide, or this grip module. And I'm noticing it could be because we've got an oddly bright day out, but it's a little hard for me to find the front sight. I was just gonna double and I ran out. Yeah, this sight post front sight is not as bright as the regular commercial Sig night sight. It doesn't have that nice, I mean, even their night sight in the daytime has some nice bright green to it. And this is very subdued, and I'm finding that I'm getting glare off the top of this slide, even though it's in, why'd you leave that chocolate bar on my car seat in the summertime, brown. Interesting. Coming up, we're going to do full mag +1. Of course, our trademark What's for Dinner test. You'll see us do sights and trigger control on our spinner. Going to be interesting with this sight, and our spinner badly needs some paint. Then of course our practical accuracy, and give you our concluding thoughts. All right, we've got Freedom Munitions 115 grain for our ball ammo today. And while we were loading the 21 rounder with the extendo on there, I noticed the 21st round went in just as easy as like the 6th round. So then we kept loading, and Tia got 25 into this thing without a lot of struggle. I don't know if that's the intent or not. It's got the capacity for it, so we'll give it a try. And we've got the 17 rounder for our one.
Certainly the most pleasant experience I've had loading a Sig mag, I will say.
Yeah, it was very, very smooth. So with 26 rounds on tap, see, will it run? I've still got the steel out there. I'm going to try to just burn this down to see how the mag functions. Of course, I'm going to try to hit the target, but with this sight, I'm not too confident. Let's see how it goes. Come on, front side post, where are you? There it is. Not my most accurate time, but that's not what we were testing there. We're looking to see if it runs, and yeah, that was 26 rounds flawlessly through this mag. That's pretty cool. If you're in the market for aftermarket SIG 320 mags, these might be the ones to go for.
Get them while you can.
Is that time again? What's for dinner time? As you'll see, our lightest here today is 90 grains with a flat tip. And as I move along, you'll notice that the bullet shape, overall length, general profile, case material, jacket material are all different. What we're looking for is, will it feed from slide lock? Is there enough energy to repeat and cycle another round of the same type? And does it lock open on empty? Anything beyond that is testing the magazine's capacity to run these rounds. We just want to see, will the rounds work in the gun? This is made possible thanks to True Shot Gun Club, our Ammo Squared supporters, and our patrons. The nozzler there is what we use for our accuracy at the end of the video.
What's for dinner starts off today with the Polyfrange frangible ammo. This is lead-free 90 grain flat tip. As I drop rounds on the ground, I'll be starting at circle number 1.
Which one was the errant shot?
Yep.
Was that your first?
That'd be a good question. And for circle 2, we have the Hornady's Critical Defense Light. This is 100 grain brass cased ammunition with the pink polymer swell in there.
Years ago, this load is what started this test because some guns really didn't like it, and yet it was really popular. Oh, issue cycling. Decent
Circle
print.
number 3 is Norma's monolithic hollow point. This is 108 grain with extreme terminal performance.
Nickel plated cases for corrosion resistance and to aid with heating and extraction.
I just thought they were sexy.
They look pretty good looking. Looked like it was fairly soft shooting.
Yeah, it was not bad. The recoil impulse was more pleasant than the rest that I've shot so far.
I've noticed, and just wanted the audience to know, that sometimes when you see hand bounce after the shots, I suspect that's when we're overly flexing to brace for a shot, and the shot ends up being softer than normal, and so you're kind of overcompensating. It's not criticism at all if you're shooting. I'm just saying we notice sometimes on camera you see the hand kind of bounce a few times after the shot.
Or you get comfortable shooting and you relax your grip a little bit, and then something gets away from you, and then yeah, you're shocked from the recoil, and so you're taking a better grip on the gun. Winchester silver tip for circle number 4. These are 115 grain defense jacketed hollow points.
They also tend to be a little spicier.
Yes, they do. It's really hard to make a nice tight group when your target's wobbling.
Yeah, we've got a random breeze that's kicked up here.
It's nice though, because it's been fairly warm today.
I blame Honest Outlaw. He must be sending his weather our way. He's always talking about how windy it is in Iowa.
No, it's polite. Circle number 5 will be the Wolf steel cased 115 grain, non-corrosive, and all that other stuff that they put on their box.
And if you're a first-time watcher, we use steel and aluminum case ammunition because, aside from the corrosion issue, which really, this is all fresh out of the box, steel and aluminum contract and expand at different rates than brass does, which leads to different chamber fitment during extraction. You also have a different friction coefficient within the chamber and within the magazine, so some guns don't like it. Oh yeah, it's spicy.
They have a real sweet smell though.
Like sugar-coated industrial smell.
Something.
Circle 6, Blazer aluminum, 115 grain. Aluminum case. Same reason we did the steel case. Hitting high for me. No cycling issues. Circle 7 is ZQI's All the Stuff. Why do I call it that? Well, because it's a nickel-plated steel case and a brass full metal jacket. The only thing they're missing is copper. Also high right. That's either the shooter or the sights or the shooter's use of the sights.
I mean, I was technically hitting high right also when I was hitting high right.
Theory on that, just to make fun of the Army, because we're both veterans, we can. What's the most common shooter error when you're nervous, apprehensive, rushed through, and poorly trained? Low left as you're squeezing the heck out of the gun. So, soldiers, if you're going to shoot low left, let's set your sights to high right and compensate for it. Circle number 8, Federal's Syntec training match, 124 grain. It's got purple. Interesting combo of training match. Usually you have training ammo or match ammo. What is training match? Is that ammo that is training to become match ammo? I'm not sure. We'll find out. Circle number 8. Punchier. Recoil on that, oh, we did not get slide lock. Although recoil was higher, it felt kind of like a defensive load. Maybe that's what the training part was about. Next up is Hornet's Critical Duty. This is the 135 grain flex lock. Looks like critical defense, but it's not, it's critical duty.
And if they're not working, just use the box and blind them.
Yes, yeah, that works as well. Usually my critical duties are in the morning after too much coffee.
Oh, Jesus.
Recoil was stout, but very manageable in this full-size grip. Circle number 10 is Federal Syntec Action Pistol, 150 grain. It's got red. This is the synthetic jacket. Sorry, folks. Off camera, I was scolded for that joke I made earlier. Gotta have some fun, right? Oh, this stuff is always so soft. Cycled well and grouped well. Next we have the spinner test for sights and trigger control. Now this trigger we kind of already know because it's the exact same one that was in the X Compact we reviewed. These sights might be a challenge, especially on a target so badly needing paint. We'll use the Freedom Munitions 115 grain, which tends to be a little bit soft, but we've got a longer barrel giving us a little more energy. 8 rounds or 10?
10.
All right.
I'll give you 8.
Oh, thanks. You're looking at our 6-inch Titan Grid Outdoors spinner target, and we are 15 yards away. This is a test of sights and trigger control and the shooter's ability to learn them, and we use that to kind of assess the setup here. As Tia hits this thing, it's going to start swinging, and the more she hits it, the faster it's going to move, harder it's going to be to time those shots. That's where the control of the gun really comes into play. You're hitting high right.
There we go.
The goal, of course, is to try to spin it over the top.
Hit it.
But that's really just a personal goal. Really, it's to put us through the stress test of timing shots. So, Tia, how'd that work out for you?
It actually worked really well. The challenge today was having adequate visual on the target. The sights don't seem to have been the issue. It was really more or less the shadows that are behind there that are not allowing enough contrast to see the sights, to see the target well through the sights. Trigger is impeccable. Like, I really enjoy this trigger. And like Graham said, we've used it before. So coming back to it today, even though it's in a different platform, I had that muscle memory already down pat. So this would have been doable for me. It was a target issue today.
In keeping true to Miss Tia's request, I only have 8 rounds. And I'm going to remember to aim low and left, since I seem to hit high right with this. I've got to second what Tia said about the trigger. When you're right and reset, which is how we shoot when we need to shoot precisely, it is right there ready for you. Even though dry firing it feels kind of a squishy break. In fact, I wasn't in love with the 320 trigger to begin with. This worked really well. That front sight post is definitely not an upgrade over the civilian Model 1. I was joking while we went to reload mags, leave it to the Army to specify something worse than civilian, but everybody still loves mil-spec for some reason. Recoil control is very easy thanks to the longer slide and this grip being long enough for me to have no problem putting my whole hand on it. So very, very manageable. And just running through that, I have more confidence shooting this than I did with the M9.
All right, so the M17 for accuracy, we've got our circle squares out there at 7 yards. We each have 5 rounds of the Nosler ASP 115 grain jacketed hollow point.
And even though Nosler isn't loading match handgun ammunition anymore, their ammo is still pretty matchy, which is why we're using it. You going left or right, Tia?
I'm going left. The wind got me.
Also 5 shots of Nosler ASP from 7 yards at the right circle square. We use this target because that 1-inch square at 7 yards is usually about the same size as the front sight post. And I am going to maintain that hold despite my high right tendencies with this gun.
Very nice. Even a number 4.
Don't put pressure on me.
Had to. So like I said in my opening statements, I didn't have a lot of time with the military issued handguns other than cleaning them or making sure that they were clean. And officers are terrible at that, just so you know. In fact, I feel like I've had more enlightened shooting time with this to be able to understand the recoil and understand the sights and understand all of that to where I would be comfortable carrying this any day of the week. This platform, I think, is adequate regardless of your hand size. I don't have super small hands, but they're not large either. And this firearm fits me perfectly. You know, I'm tucked up in here real tight. It's easy to operate. Where some of those, you know, pulling the slide back takes a lot of effort to push and pull. And then the trigger, once you know it, it's part of you. It's what you do.
And I don't believe there's any difference in trigger between this X model and a regular one other than the shoe being straight versus curved.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying my experience with the M17 and encourage any of you to look into it, just because of, especially for the simple fact that you can modify it to meet your needs. I mean, there's so many options out there, you really won't go wrong with it.
That accuracy is some of the best that I've ever done with a striker fired gun. The grip module, though it is far simpler than a lot of the aftermarket stuff we've been looking at. Don't worry folks, the fun thing about those is they run out of ammo quick. Despite it being simpler, more of the classic 320, fits my hand plenty fine. It's comfortable enough. It may not be as contoured, but it works. And in fact, it also worked for Ms. Tia's. And I think speaks widely to it being a good idea for adaptation to a service department or military service where you've got lots of different hands. If it worked for mine, it worked for Tia's, I'm sure it works for a lot more other people. When the M17 was first announced, my criticism was that it wasn't a good idea for the Army, simply because my 15 years of active duty taught me just how poorly trained most folks are with handguns. Either because there's not good training inherent to the unit, or there's just not enough time or ammo spent on getting good with guns. For a trained professional, no problem. This trigger, nowadays, I think, although it is still shorter, lighter, crisper than the M9 that I was used to, and I saw officers be negligent and dangerous with that long, heavy trigger. They'd obviously still be dangerous with this, but I would hope that things have changed and the military is maybe professionalized a little bit, you know, as they've lowered standards and let folks in who wouldn't have been able to be in before. Maybe the Army got better.
I think with a lighter trigger, actually, they're going to be safer, because you don't have any of that play. You have to be aware of every shot that you're putting out.
It does force you to pay attention.
And in that, it builds your confidence when you've got something that you can shoot accurately, because the trigger isn't helping you throw your shots.
And I will say this is much more comfortable to shoot than I remember the M9. As Tia pointed out, that could very well be the now thousands of hours of professional training we've had since being in the Army, and thousands of hours of range time. But overall, I am quite impressed with this platform. I think if given it versus the M9, I would go with the M17 today. I appreciate that Sig makes this kit available. It's pretty cool. It saves you a couple $100s to buy this M17 kit versus to buy a complete M17. And it ships to your door because it's not a firearm. It's everything but the FCU. So that was pretty cool. I'm glad we have it in inventory to run it. I'm glad that this is more of a finished production version. When I made my initial assessment years ago, I had shot a 320 compact once and did not have the same experience I do now. So opinions change as experience changes, but this was a good gun. Thanks for watching.